question for you. If we're talking about the expectations for Brandon Aiyuk this upcoming season, I mean, do you have an idea? Maybe yards, catches. Like,
Yes.
what do you think? Where should his numbers lie when the season comes to an end? And we have to assume health, right? We don't want to assume any injuries, so let's assume health. Where do you see his production?
So to me, this was a guy who was getting about 8-7 targets a game last year, 62 yards per game, and would see about 1 to 2 punts or kicks. I want him to get half of the punt or kick returns, at least in the early part of the season. If it's not if he isn't injured, if there isn't any worry with that, that's what I want to see from Brandon Aiyuk and special teams. In terms of the offense, I think this guy should be getting 10 plus touchdowns total every single year. In terms of yards, I don't know what that quite looks like, because I think, with Trey Lance, the offense is going to look a little different, right? He's going to get the ball down the field more. Now he's just getting 62 yards per game, like I was saying, and Kittle's getting around 80. But to me, I want to see him get those deep touches more, those deep targets more, right? I want to see him at his yards per catch around 16, 17, 18, creeping towards 20. To me, that would be ideal for a Brandon Aiyuk type of role. I want to see him be that deep threat so that we can just open up everything over the middle where Kittle and Debo are already eating, right? So in terms of numbers at the end of the year, I want to say about 1,250 plus yards, but at the same time, I want to see 250 rushing yards to 200 rushing yards. I want to see 3 or 4 rushing touchdowns. Like I need 10 plus total touchdowns, and not only that, utilize him in the red zone. You refuse to do it with George Kittle. They just simply won't do it in the Shanahan offense. So why not use Aiyuk in the red zone more? That's what I don't understand with Aiyuk. I think the most is I want to see this ball, just see him get those type of plays where he did, like against the Dallas Cowboys, like I just showed you earlier, where he gets that shake, right? And he just gets a touchdown easy like that. Those are the type of things I get really excited with Aiyuk, and especially with the Trey Lance offense, like I showed, where he was getting the ball under his gut in the red zone, right? You see those 2 red zone plays, those are the type of things that we can translate and make even more dangerous in the Trey Lance offense. So in terms of expectations, I don't want to set them too high, but to me, he's got to be the number 1 wide receiver option on the team, and the guy who they just need to target more. I want to see him get somewhere around 9 to 12 targets per game. Now, I think that can depend on the game. He might get less here, more there, right, depending on the matchup. But to me, I don't really see many scenarios where it's a matchup issue for Brandon Aiyuk. If anything, he's the one forcing the matchup problem, right? So I guess, Eric, what do you have to say to that? But also, what kind of expectations do you have for Aiyuk next season?
I agree with a lot of what you said. I was thinking, receiving yards, at least 1,100.
Yeah.
At least I want over 1,000. He's 1,000-yard receiver. So I want him to get to at least 1,000, 1,100, 1,200 be great. The touchdowns, you're right. If he can get double-digit touchdowns, I mean, that would be phenomenal.
Well, and I think let me just clarify this: between receiving and rushing, he should be getting double-digit touchdowns, if not very close.
Yes. And in catches, I mean, I want to see him up towards, 80, 90 catches. I mean, that might be lucrative, but I want to aim high, because I agree. I think he's our most electric and versatile. I mean, Debo is versatile, but in terms of being able to go down the field, short, Aiyuk
But I think the thing that sets Aiyuk apart, and I just want to make sure I touch on this, is he can almost do 95% of what Debo does. But he can also do all these other extra things, right? That's going to turn this offense up to another level and makes it so that when you're trying to disguise things within the Shanahan offense, when you're trying to make things look like one thing versus another, right? And you're trying to confuse the defense, that's where a guy like Aiyuk is super dangerous. I mean, Trey Lance is going to add a whole nother level, but when you have 3 pass catching options who can all take end arounds, who can all get these different types of plays and get involved in all these different kinds of ways, just creates this super dangerous offense that you don't really know what to expect at any point in the field with any formation. And to me, that's the exciting thing, because that's what Shanahan already does so well. It's crazy. So they're just going to take this offense, turn it up, take it from like 11 notches and crank it up to 15 with Trey Lance, right?